On this week's Waste of the Week, hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars wasted on stockpiled COVID supplies no one is using. Joining us this morning with the details is founder and CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, Andrzejewski. Good morning to you, Adam. Happy Friday. So according to the New York Post, New York City has already trashed more than $14.1 million worth of extra COVID supplies and now has plans to trash millions more. This is what happens when you panic buy and hoard. Tell us more about this.
Well, the city panicked, they overbought, and it's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of trashed and unused supplies purchased during the pandemic. So specific in this instance, Jan, you've got $28 million of expired COVID test and hand sanitizer that's expired, so it's trashed. And look, there's other examples of this. You got to watch out if you're buying COVID supplies from the city. For example, in the middle of January, they went out to sell 3,000 cases of hand sanitizer wipes for $56,000. But here's the problem. It was going to expire in 2 weeks. So buyer beware when you're dealing with New York City.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder why they didn't just give it away, because now it's in the trash and no one gets to use it, right? In addition to this, they're also auctioning off all this extra equipment, Adam, that they purchased for pennies on the dollar. How much is the equipment worth that they're auctioning off at this point, and how much money have they gotten back?
Well, it's pennies on the dollar. So they went out already and auctioned $225 million worth of unused COVID supplies. And look, you've got, for instance, like face shields. You could buy 700,000 face shields, Jan, for $1,000. They went out there and they auctioned 3,000 ventilators for $25,000. It took 28 truckloads to cart them away for scrap metal. But I think there's a silver lining in the ventilator story, because obviously on the pandemic, if you were put on a ventilator, that was a death sentence.
Right. And there has to be, Adam, some kind of limit when it comes to this type of government spending. What has been the impact to taxpayers?
Well, look, it's $250 million. And it's not like the city doesn't have problems on crime, on illegal entrants flooding the city, on the homeless population. New York has a lot of public problems. But what they did on the pandemic, and this was a real problem that opened the door to corruption, is that they waived the rule that city contracts have to be reviewed by the city comptroller, who gives them oversight. So it opened the door to this corruption. And so, for example, when they purchased $9.1 million worth of face shields from a New York-based digital gadget supplier, they didn't get face shields, they got N95 masks. The N95 masks weren't certified. This is the same vendor that's a big donor to the mayor and the governor. Critics have called it pay to play. At the state level, this vendor did $630 million worth of COVID tests that were 2 times the price of a normal COVID test.
Yeah, how is that legal when you start to look at some of the money that's been exchanging hands there? More than 250 million taxpayer dollars down the drain there in New York City. Adam, we do not see this in all states. New York City at the top of the list, but the theme is pretty predictable. This mostly happened in places with the highest taxes and the most government spending, which should be a lesson. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's government gone wild, Jan. And look, I'm from Illinois. It is the Super Bowl of corruption, but even our pandemic procurement was a lot tighter than New York City. So the feds need to step in. In Illinois, the only thing that gets our governors is federal law enforcement. The feds need to step in. They need to enforce some accountability right there in the Big Apple.
Yeah, when I lived in Chicago, we used to call it the corruption tax. That's what we were paying for. That's what we all
That's right.
said the money was going toward. All right. Thank you so much, Adam, founder of OpenTheBooks.com. Adam Andrzejewski, have a great weekend. Great to see you.
Thank you.